12 black music icons. Every single one of them changed the sound of American music. Every single one of them was destroyed by the very industry they helped build. And here's what nobody wants to talk about. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't poor choices. It was a system designed to extract everything these artists had and then throw them away when it was done. These are the voices that built empires for other people, and most of them didn't live long enough to see a dime of what they were owed. This is the list the industry doesn't want you to hear. Oh, baby, Number 12. Mary Wells. Mary Wells. If you know Motown, you need to know this name. Because before Diana Ross, before Stevie Wonder, before any of them, Mary Wells was the one who made Motown matter. She was the first solo artist on that label to crack the pop top 40. My God. 17 years old when she signed. A kid from the Brewster Projects in Detroit who'd survived spinal meningitis, partial blindness, and tuberculosis before she was 10. And Berry Gordy saw her talent, teamed her with Smokey Robinson, and what happened next? Hit after hit. You Beat Me to the Punch, Two Lovers, and then in 1964, My Guy, Motown's very first #1 pop, hit by a female artist. She toured with the Beatles. They called her their favorite American singer. She was 21 years old and sitting on top of the world. But here's what the industry didn't want her to know. That contract she signed at 17, it was paying her almost nothing. And the money My Guy brought in, Motown used it to launch the Supremes. Mary found out. And she did something no one had ever done before. She walked away from Motown, invoked a clause that said her contract was invalid because she signed it as a minor. And she won. But the price? She had to give up every royalty from every song she'd ever recorded there. Every single one. And then the rumors started. Some say Motown told radio stations not to play her new music. Whether that's true or not, she never had another top 20 hit. She bounced between 7 different labels, struggled with addiction, lost everything. Nothing you can do could make me untrue to my God. And in 1990, she was diagnosed with throat cancer. The woman who gave Motown its first female #1, she had no health insurance. She was evicted from her apartment. Bruce Springsteen, Diana Ross, Rod Stewart, they all chipped in to pay her medical bills. She died in 1992, 49 years old. And at her funeral, it was Smokey Robinson who gave the eulogy. The Queen of Motown died nearly penniless, and the industry kept right on collecting from the music she made. Number 11. Big Mama Thornton. Big Mama Thornton. And if you don't know that name, I promise you, you know her music. You just don't know it was hers. Willie Mae Thornton was born in rural Alabama in 1926. Her father was a minister. Her mother sang in the church choir. By the time she was a teenager, she'd lost her mother and run away from home to sing the blues. She was 6 feet tall, close to 200 pounds, with a voice that could shake the walls and a stage presence that earned her the name Big Mama after she tore down the Apollo Theater in 1951. Here's where the story turns. In 1952, two 19-year-old songwriters, Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, met Big Mama and were so blown away that they went home and wrote a song for her in 15 minutes. That song was Hound Dog. Big Mama recorded it. It went straight to #1 on the R&B chart. Stayed there for 7 weeks. Sold over 500,000 copies. You want to know what Big Mama earned from Hound Dog? $500. That's it. $500 for a #1 record. Then 3 years later, a young man from Memphis named Elvis Presley records his version. Elvis sells 10 million copies, becomes the king of rock and roll. And Big Mama? She once said, "I've been singing way before Elvis was born, and he jumps up and becomes a millionaire off something I made popular." And it happened again. Big Mama wrote a song called Ball and Chain. Recorded it, but the label sat on it, didn't release it, held onto the copyright. Then Janis Joplin comes along, performs it at Monterey Pop in 1967, and it makes Joplin a star. Big Mama didn't see a penny in royalties because she didn't own the publishing rights to a song she wrote herself. She spent her final years playing small clubs, struggling with alcoholism. And in 1984, Big Mama Thornton died of a heart attack in a Los Angeles boarding house, penniless. The woman who recorded Hound Dog first, who wrote Ball and Chain, died with nothing. She wasn't inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame until 2024, 40 years after her death. If that's not the industry destroying someone, I don't know what is. Number 10. Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of one coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story. Number 10. Frankie Lyman. Frankie Lyman. And this is the one that gets me because he was a child, 13 years old, growing up in Washington Heights, singing doo-wop on the corner of 165th and Amsterdam with 4 of his friends. They called themselves the Teenagers. And in 1956, they recorded a song called Why Do Fools Fall in Love? It went to #1, made Frankie Lyman the first black teenage pop star in America behind the scenes. The label G Records was run by Morris Levy, a man with deep ties to organized crime. And while Levy was raking in the publishing money from every hit, I promise to remember the ABCs of love. I'm not a juvenile delinquent. Frankie and the Teenagers were kept at bay with handouts. Frankie later said, "I don't know where the money went. All my transactions were handled by someone else. They were careful to keep the kid happy. They'd pat me on the head and tell me how great I was." He was pulling in $8,000 a week at his peak. He never saw it. They encouraged him to go solo in 1957, splitting him from the group because 2 acts make more money than 1. But without the Teenagers, Frankie's career collapsed. His voice was changing. And by 15 years old, he was addicted to heroin. He later told Ebony magazine that a woman twice his age introduced him to it. Think about that. And the industry took a child, made him a star, stripped every dollar from him, isolated him from his friends, and then looked the other way when he started disappearing. He spent the next decade in and out of rehab, cycling through failed deals and broken marriages. On February 27, 1968, the very day he was supposed to start recording his comeback, Frankie Lyman was found dead on his grandmother's bathroom floor, a syringe by his side. He was 25. And after he died, 3 different women went to court fighting over the royalties from Why Do Fools Fall in Love? Money Frankie himself never saw a cent of. He said it best, "I was merely a pawn in a big chess game." He was a kid, and they used him up. Number 9. Sly Stone. Sly Stone. Now, you might think you know this story, but what the industry did to Sly Stone is one of the most vicious things that's ever happened in music. And it almost never gets told the right way.
We got to live together.
In the late 1960s, Sly and the Family Stone were the most revolutionary band in America. Black and white members, men and women, funk, rock, soul, and psychedelia all woven together.
My own beliefs are in my song.
Everyday People went number 1. Dance to the Music. Thank you for letting me be myself again. Hot Fun in the Summertime. This was a band that literally changed the DNA of popular music. Every funk, hip-hop, and pop artist since owes something to Sly Stone. But here's what happened. The money was enormous and everybody wanted a piece of Sly. Managers, promoters, hangers-on. The pressure was relentless. And Sly, already experimenting with drugs, went deeper. Some of the people closest to him, people the industry put around him, didn't just enable the drug use. They supplied it. Because a drugged-up Sly still made records, still toured, still generated revenue. As long as the machine kept moving, nobody cared what it cost him. By the mid-70s, the hits dried up, the band fell apart, and the industry, the same industry that had celebrated him as a genius, moved on, just like that. And where did Sly end up? This is the part that should make you angry. By the 2000s, one of the most important musicians of the 20th century was living out of a van in Los Angeles, a camper van, on the street, while every hip-hop producer in the world was sampling his music, while his songs played in commercials and movies. He'd signed away his publishing rights years earlier and was seeing almost nothing from it. And when he briefly resurfaced at the 2006 Grammys, he looked like a ghost of himself. The industry didn't just destroy Sly Stone's career, it destroyed his life. And then it kept making money off his genius while he had nothing. You hear Everyday People at a barbecue this summer? Remember where that money isn't going? Number 8, David Ruffin.
Found someone to take the place of you.
David Ruffin. And if you've ever heard My Girl, like even once, then you already know his voice. You just might not know his name.
Tighter than you ever have before.
David Ruffin was born in Why Not, Mississippi. And I'm not making that up. Why not? His mother died when he was a baby. His father, a Baptist minister, forced the children to sing as a group, the Spiritual Trying Four, dragging them church to church on Sundays. People felt sorry for these motherless kids, and David, even then, had a voice that stopped people cold. He joined the Temptations in 1964 and everything changed. Because when Smokey Robinson wrote My Girl, he wrote it specifically for David Ruffin's voice. And that voice? Marvin Gaye himself said, "Y'all, I heard in his voice a strength my own voice lacked. My girl ain't too proud to beg. I wish it would rain." David Ruffin didn't just sing those songs, he bled through them. But Motown had a system. And that system wasn't designed to make David Ruffin rich. It was designed to make Berry Gordy rich. David was the voice of the biggest group in soul music. And he was watching Harold Melvin. No. He was watching everyone around him get more than he did. When he asked to be billed as David Ruffin and the Temptations, they fired him. Just like that. The voice of My Girl, gone. And here's where the industry really twisted the knife. After they fired him, Motown gave him the bare minimum of support as a solo artist. Just enough to keep him under contract. Not enough to actually build a career. But he had a couple hits. My Whole World Ended. Walk Away from Love. But without the Temptations behind him, without the machine promoting him, he faded. And the cocaine addiction that had started during his Motown years swallowed him whole. By 1988, when he was arrested for crack possession, he told the judge he was penniless, living in a friend's mobile home. The voice of My Girl, penniless. On June 1st, 1991, David Ruffin collapsed in a Philadelphia crack house. He was dropped off at a hospital. He had just come back from a tour of England. Tour proceeds, nearly $300,000, were in a money belt. When they found his body, he had $53 on him. The rest was gone. He was 50 years old. And to this day, My Girl plays somewhere in the world every single minute. Number 7. Etta James. Etta James. Now listen, because this story starts when she's just a child, and it never gets easier. James Etta Hawkins was born in 1938 in Los Angeles. Her mother was 14 years old. Her father was likely the pool hustler Minnesota Fats, though he never acknowledged her. She was raised by foster parents, sang in church, and by 14, she was spotted by bandleader Johnny Otis. He changed her name, rearranged it to Etta James, and in 1955 she had her first hit, The Wallflower, Dance With Me, Henry. It went number 1 on the R&B chart. She was 17. But here's the thing about the music industry in the 1950s. A black teenage girl from South Central with no parents and no guidance? She was a target, and they aimed right at her. Etta signed with Modern Records and then moved to Chess Records in Chicago, where she recorded what might be the most beautiful love song ever committed to tape. At Last, 1961. That song became immortal. It's played at weddings to this day. And do you know what Etta saw from At Last? Almost nothing. Chess Records was run by the Cheslaw brothers, Leonard and Phil Chess, and they were notorious for keeping black artists on tight financial leashes. Etta was given advances instead of royalties, kept dependent on the label. And when heroin entered the picture, and some have said people around the label introduced it to her, nobody intervened. Because an addicted artist is an artist you control. For the next 2 decades, Etta James battled addiction so severe it nearly killed her multiple times. She was arrested. She lost custody of her children. She watched lesser voices get the recognition and the money that should have been hers. Beyoncé sang At Last at President Obama's inauguration in 2009. And Etta, still alive, told reporters she felt her legacy was being taken from her. Again. By the time the industry finally gave Etta her flowers, 6 Grammys, a Grammy Lifetime Achievement, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, she was already sick. She was diagnosed with dementia, then leukemia, and died in 2012 at 73. She spent most of her life fighting for what she'd earned, and the industry gave it to her only when it was too late to matter.
You are mine.
Number 6. Teddy Pendergrass.
I guess you got
Teddy Pendergrass. And this one might be the most infuriating story on this entire list. Because Teddy Pendergrass didn't just have talent, he had momentum. The kind of momentum that was about to make him the biggest male R&B artist on the planet. and then everything was taken from him in a single night. Teddy grew up in North Philadelphia. His father was stabbed to death when Teddy was 11. His mother raised him alone. He became an ordained minister at 10, picked up drums, and by the early 70s, he'd talked his way into Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. First as the drummer, then as the lead singer. And the moment he took that microphone, it was over.
But no, I ain't never going nowhere. No.
If you don't know me by now, the love I lost. Wake up, everybody. Those records, that's Teddy's voice. Yup, but the group was billed under Harold Melvin's name. Melvin got the lion's share. Teddy was singing the songs that made millions and staying in cheaper hotels than the man whose name was on the marquee.
So sing, everybody sing, oh, oh, baby, yeah.
So he went solo. And from 1977 to 1981, Teddy Pendergrass released 5 consecutive platinum albums. 5. That was a record for any artist at the time. Close the Door, Turn Off the Lights, Love TKO.
You talk of leaving me.
Women were throwing underwear on stage. He was called the Black Elvis. He was 31, on top of the world, and he was about to land a movie deal. Then on March 18, 1982, his Rolls-Royce hit a guardrail and smashed into 2 trees on Lincoln Drive in Philadelphia. Teddy suffered a spinal cord injury. He was paralyzed from the chest down. And here's what happened next. And this is where it gets ugly. Yeah, because the accident didn't just take his mobility. The media revealed that his passenger was Tanika Watson, a transgender nightclub performer. And in 1982, the industry didn't rally behind him. It ran. His female fan base, the foundation of his commercial power, had pulled back. The label support dried up. The momentum vanished. Rolling Stone wrote that he only cracked the pop top 40 once, despite having more platinum albums than almost any R&B artist alive. The industry had been perfectly happy to make money off his masculinity and his sex appeal.
I'm leaving you.
The moment the narrative didn't fit, they left him. He spent 28 years in a wheelchair, continued making music, started a foundation for spinal cord injury victims, but he never got back what was taken. He died of colon cancer in 2010. He was 59, and we still haven't given Teddy Pendergrass the flowers he earned.
I said, woman, you've got me, that I'm hooked.
Number 5, Sam Cooke.
Kiss me.
Sam Cooke. And here's the thing about Sam. He wasn't just a singer. He was maybe the first black artist to truly understand the business. He owned his masters. He ran his own label, SAR Records. He published his own songs. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, this was unheard of for a black artist. Sam Cooke was building an empire. You Send Me, Chain Gang, Twistin' the Night Away. A change is gonna come.
Darling, you send me.
He was handsome, brilliant, and dangerous. Not to the public, but to the industry's power structure. Because if Sam Cooke could own his own music, other black artists would want the same. And that threatened everything the industry was built on. And then, on December 11th, 1964, Sam Cooke was shot and killed at the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles. He was 33 years old. The official story? The motel manager, Bertha Franklin, said Cooke broke into her office after a confrontation with a woman named Elisa Boyer. Franklin said she shot him in self-defense. But here's what doesn't add up, and has never added up. Sam was shot in the chest with a .22 caliber pistol, but the scene didn't match his self-defense story. His friends, Muhammad Ali, Bobby Womack, others close to him, never believed the official account.
I know you sent me.
Etta James, who saw his body at the funeral, said it looked like he'd been beaten beyond what a single encounter could explain. And then there's the timing. Sam Cooke was on the verge of a massive deal. He was organizing black artists. He was challenging the financial structure. He was about to become the most powerful black man in the music industry. And he was killed in a cheap motel under circumstances that have never been fully explained. The movement toward black ownership in music was set back by a decade. Some people say Sam Cooke's death was a tragic accident. Some people say it was something much darker. But everyone agrees on one thing. The industry benefited from his silence. And if you've ever heard a change is gonna come and felt something break inside you, then just know, that change he was singing about, he was building it, and then it was taken.
To marry you and take you home. I know.
Number 4, Florence Ballard. Florence Ballard. And I need you to really hear this one, because this might be the cruelest story in all of American music. Florence Ballard didn't just sing in the Supremes. She created the Supremes. It was her group. She chose the name. She recruited Mary Wilson. She brought in a neighborhood girl named Diane, later Diana Ross. They were teenagers from the Brewster Douglas projects in Detroit. And when Berry Gordy signed them to Motown in 1961, it was Florence who had the strongest voice. Mary Wilson herself said Florence's voice was like Etta James or Aretha Franklin. She was the engine, but Gordy had other plans. He chose Diana Ross as the lead. Not because she was the best singer, but because she had the most mainstream pop appeal. And Florence? She watched. As one hit after another. Where Did Our Love Go? Baby Love? Stop. In the Name of Love? You Can't Hurry Love? Went to number 1 with Diana out front. Florence sang background on her own group's songs, 10 number 1 hits, and she watched someone else take the credit. By 1967, Gordy wanted Diana solo, and Florence was in the way. Here's what happened one night at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. Right before the group was about to take the stage, Gordy pulled Florence aside and told her, and these are her words, "If you go on stage, I'll throw you off." She didn't go on. Cindy Birdsong was already there in the wings, changed into Florence's clothes, walked on stage. And just like that, the woman who built the Supremes was out. The settlement? A one-time payment of roughly $140,000. And a condition, she could never mention that she'd been in the Supremes. Think about that. She couldn't even use her own history to build a career. She signed with ABC Records, 2 singles, both failed. Her husband couldn't manage her career. The money ran out. She tried to sue Motown, claimed Diana had secretly and maliciously plotted to oust her. Case thrown out. By the early 1970s, Florence Ballard, founder of the Supremes, was living on welfare. On February 22, 1976, she suffered a heart attack and died. She was 32 years old. At her funeral, Diana Ross showed up, and the crowd outside the church booed her. Some wounds don't heal. And Florence Ballard's wound is one the industry has never answered for. Number 3, Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman. And if you know, you know. And if you don't, this is going to hurt. Phyllis Hyman was 6'1", a voice that could crack the sky open, jazz-inflected soul that made grown men weep. She was born in Philadelphia in 1949, raised in Pittsburgh, and by the mid-1970s, she was the most magnetic performer in New York's club scene. Norman Connors heard her sing and immediately put her on his album, You Are My Starship. Her version of Betcha by Golly Wow, a song the Stylistics had already made a hit, became definitive. And Arista Records came calling.
Hold you tight.
But here's where the industry showed its hand. Clive Davis, the head of Arista, had a vision for Phyllis Hyman. He wanted to mold her into a pop crossover star. But Phyllis wasn't a puppet. She was a jazz-rooted, emotionally honest artist who refused to sing anything superficial. And that conflict between what Phyllis was and what the label wanted her to be became a prison.
Think of how we plan to get married.
Because while they disagreed over creative direction, Arista held her contract. She couldn't record for anyone else. She couldn't release music on her own terms.
Saying love how I used to know you well.
For years, she was trapped. The label gave her just enough support to keep her under contract, but not enough to actually break through. And the frustration, combined with bipolar disorder she'd been diagnosed with in the 1980s, tore her apart. She finally escaped Arista and signed with Philadelphia International. And in 1991, she released Prime of My Life, the biggest album of her career. Don't Want to Change the World became her first #1 R&B hit and her first entry on the Billboard Hot 100. She was 42. It should have been the beginning. But by then, the damage was done. Bipolar disorder, depression, alcoholism, the loss of her mother, her grandmother, and a close friend, all within 28 days of each other in 1993, and a consuming anger at watching lesser voices enjoy more commercial success. That's what her friends said, a consuming anger. On June 30th, 1995, 6 days before her 46th birthday, Phyllis Hyman was scheduled to perform at the Apollo Theater. Hours before the show, she was found in her apartment. She'd taken an overdose of sleeping pills mixed with vodka. Her suicide note read, "I'm tired, I'm tired. Those of you that I love know who you are, may God bless you."
Living all alone. Whoa.
5 months later, her final album was released. It was called I Refuse to Be Lonely. And if you listen to it knowing what you know now, every single song sounds like a woman trying to tell you goodbye. The industry didn't pull the trigger, but it loaded the gun, and then it looked the other way. Number 2, Donny Hathaway.
Still water. Put your
Donny Hathaway. And this is the one that might be the most painful to talk about. Because Donny Hathaway wasn't just talented, he was a once-in-a-generation genius. The kind of artist other artists couldn't believe was real.
put your hand in the hand of a man.
He was born in Chicago in 1945, raised by his grandmother in St. Louis, and he was singing gospel in her church by the age of 3. He could hear music in his head. His grandmother bought him a piano, and from that moment, it was all he was.
To be, but it causes me shame to know that man.
He earned a fine arts scholarship to Howard University, where he met a classmate named Roberta Flack. And together, they would create some of the most beautiful music the world has ever heard. The Ghetto. Someday we'll all be free. Little Ghetto Boy. This Christmas, you hear that song every December and probably don't even know his name. And with Roberta Flack, Where Is the Love won a Grammy.
Take a good look at yourself. You can look at others.
The Closer I Get to You went to number 2 on the pop chart. His live album, recorded at the Troubadour in 1971, is considered one of the greatest live albums ever made. Rolling Stone called him a soul legend.
Hand in the hand of a man. Still the water.
But here's what most people don't know. In the early 1970s, at the height of his career, Donny Hathaway was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. He was prescribed 14 different medications, twice a day. And the industry, Atlantic Records, the people around him, they didn't know what to do with a genius who was losing his grip on reality.
You can look at others differently.
He was hospitalized multiple times between 1973 and 1977. He heard voices, he experienced hallucinations, he had episodes of paranoid delusion, and instead of getting him sustained help, the industry cycled him in and out of studios, in and out of hospitals.
When I'm down on my knees.
Because a recording Donny Hathaway was still a profitable Donny Hathaway. By 1978, things seemed to be looking up. He reconciled with Roberta Flack. They started recording again. The Closer, I Get to You was a smash, and they went into the studio to make another duet album. But on January 13th, 1979, after a recording session, Donny was sent back to his room at the Essex House Hotel in New York City. His producer had noticed he was having an episode. Paranoid, delusional.
My mama taught me how to pray. Before I reached the age of
And that night, Donny Hathaway fell from the 15th floor window. The glass had been neatly removed. No signs of a struggle. He was 33 years old. It was ruled a suicide, though his friends and family have questioned that for over 4 decades. The man who wrote This Christmas. The man who Alicia Keys honored after September 11th by singing Someday We'll All Be Free. The man whose daughter Lala carries his legacy forward.
clear the timber. And those vines.
He didn't get a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award until 2019, 40 years after his death. And I keep thinking about the lyricist who wrote Someday We'll All Be Free, Edward Howard. He said he wrote it specifically for Donny. I hoped that at some point he would be released from all that he was going through. Some of y'all have heard this man sing This Christmas 1,000 times and never knew his name. Now you know, and you know what it cost him.
Every time I look.
Number 1, Final Icon, the one nobody talks about. And number 1, this spot could have gone to any of them. Every story on this list deserved it. But I chose this one because it represents something bigger than one artist. Every single person we just talked about, from Mary Wells to Donny Hathaway, they share something in common.
We got to live together.
They were all black artists who were extraordinary enough to build the American music industry into what it is today. And in return, the industry extracted their talent, their health, their money, and in too many cases, their lives.
Come along.
Think about it. Mary Wells gave Motown its first number 1 and died without health insurance. Big Mama Thornton recorded Hound Dog and earned $500 while Elvis made millions. Frankie Lyman was a child star who was exploited, addicted, and dead at 25. Sly Stone changed the sound of American music and ended up living in a van. David Ruffin sang My Girl, one of the most beloved songs ever recorded, and died in a crack house with $53 to his name. Etta James recorded At Last and fought for scraps her entire career. Teddy Pendergrass had 5 platinum albums and was abandoned when he no longer fit the narrative. Sam Cooke tried to own his own music and was killed at 33. Florence Ballard built the Supremes and died on welfare at 32. Phyllis Hyman left a note that said, I'm tired. Donny Hathaway fell from a 15th floor window. And that's the real number 1. It's not one artist, it's the system. A system that still operates today. That still extracts everything from black artists and gives back as little as possible.
You can look at others differently.
These 12 icons didn't fail. They were failed. And the least we can do, you and me right now, is say their names, remember their stories, and refuse to let the industry bury what it did.